Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of What's on My Mind, the series in which I just kind of talk about anything and anything that's going through my head at a given moment, rather than actually focus on the gameplay that I'm doing, as for the contents of the video anyway. I don't remember what those are. Alright. Well, anyhoodle. Today, I'm just going to be focusing on MMOs and why you will probably never see any on this channel. Because I've recently been reading a lot of manga, Japanese comics that focus on MMOs and MMO culture, and while they have a much nicer view of solo players than a lot of people do, solo being people who, despite the fact that it's an MMO, still treat it like a single-player game, not really involving themselves in any of the events or large things like raids and whatnot. I think my volume's on a bit high. Let's turn... no, not mute. Let's drop it to 7. That's better. At least for my ears. Sorry if it's not. For you guys. I went the wrong way.
You lost Zone A.
Can't lose what I never had. Anyway,
You captured Zone B.
a lot of the mangas they go in, they're set ahead of time in the VR. Basically, when we have, for lack of a better terminology,
You captured Zone A.
full brainwave headsets rather than things like Vive and whatnot, where you still have the controllers in your hands and those are your input, and you just have a visor that does. But yeah, and so at that point it's all run on, for lack of better terminology, brainwaves, and you know, you think these actions like your brain, the same centers of your brain, I guess, are used. And
You captured Zone A.
Incontinent! Incontinent! Incontinent!
and then they have a lot of things, like, not just that part of it, like yes, if I could play an MMO with my brain, I'd be fucking recording the shit out of that. Hell, I probably wouldn't even need to, like, do anything that I need to do for these, like,
You
it'd
lost
just be the
Zone
sort of
A.
thing where it's like, you know, I think a thought and the recording starts, stops, does whatever. Like, seriously. But
Incredibili! Infirmus! Etiam!
But a lot of it they also cover in those is they have things that, well, at least Western MMOs. If anyone knows a good one that has all of these things, please, for the love of God, tell me, and I will be your best friend forever. Like, I will seriously pay you $20 if you can just provide me the name of it. Like, you don't need to do anything else, but here's what I look for in an MMO. I like crafting a lot. And what a lot of them, for example, the ones I think of the most when I'm saying things like manga that have these things is things like Tosan no VR MMO, Only Sense Online, games like that, manga like that. In those manga, they have, for example, crafted gear is stronger than regular gear. Like, you can get drop gear, you can get good drop gear, you can buy gear at the shops and everything, but crafters in the same areas will always be able to produce better things than what you can just find. Now, I get not everyone is me, and the main draw of MMOs is, you know, I want to go out and do these epic quests and whatnot. But it's just, as someone like me who enjoys crafting a lot in games, it's really punishing to have, no matter how good Like, I finally am able to make this thing. Okay, but by the time I've gone to the areas to get the materials to make the thing, the shops already have better stuff. At that point, it's like, why bother? Like, yes, I enjoy it, but at that point, it's not beneficial to do. Like, it's just a waste of time.
You captured Zone B.
But of course, the draw isn't. You can craft stuff. At that point, some people would probably just say, why don't you play Cooking Mama then, or something like that, which is infuriating, but carry on.
You captured
You're
Zone
entitled
A.
to your wrong opinion. But I'm looking for that. A crafting system where the best gear is player crafted. Yeah, I love doing that. I love punching people to death. But, most fun I have is a Centurion. But, it's that, and that alone wipes out all of them that I know of. Just because, you know, that's not the draw. The draw is the raids. The draw is, you know, all those things. It's... That's one down. Yeah, it's... Well, that was easy. Get up. I'm not done with you yet.
Thank you, friend.
And that was the last one.
Victory!
But yeah, so the crafting thing, which again wipes out everything I know, unless the like very end game content of some of them. For example, I played Guild Wars 2. I played a lot of Guild Wars 2 back before the expansion came out. I'm currently playing Black Desert Online because it's the closest thing I've found so far to like having it all that's modern. That's a lot of things I just did there. And what did I get for it? Garbage. Complete and utter a garbage. Yeah. Alright. Well, now I can grab new orders. That won't help me. I guess I can break that back out. And there we go. Ooh, heavy. I'll have to get Conk out later. But, yeah. So, again, if you can, like, unless the late game stuff changed, it was my biggest gripe with Guild Wars 2. I loved it because it was one of the ones, that's another one, no subscription. I want to pay once and that's it. Because I, in case you hadn't noticed by all my series, have a very bad habit of picking up and dropping things at random. And so, you know, if I subscribe, it's like, well, now you got to play it for the time, and then you can't play it later if you feel like coming back to it without resubscribing and paying more money for a game you already own. That stuff drove me nuts. So it's why it took me forever to get into MMOs, is because subscriptions piss me off. So no subscription, crafting being the most powerful stuff, and that's the thing. Like with Guild Wars, I wasn't crafting. Like I made I grabbed, because they had you can grab some crafting skills. I'm like, okay, so I was like, what weapons are for my class? What weapons? My own weapons and armor.
Zone A.
But every time I went to do anything, like by the time I had the materials, like there was already something better in the shop. Like, okay, well now I can make these base weapons. They're pretty good. But by the time I got to my first camp with a crafting area, for lack of a better term, I could already buy items that were better than the base stuff. And they were better, and again, I had found better equipment as well. Again, not necessarily against that part of it as much. Like, I get that. After all, if there aren't good gear drops, what's the point? Oh, for...
You captured Zone A.
Kill thieving asshole. I'm just gonna hold A now. But yeah, and so it's like, you know, I finally, like, I go through, okay, well, you need to gather all these crafting resources, which costs money to get the gathering stuff, and of course the gathering items are limited use. Don't have a problem with that. I get that it's a great balanced way to keep the game going. And so as a result, up the creek without a paddle. But by the time I go out, gather all the stuff from all the areas where I can find the proper stuff. Okay, well, once again, hey, okay, so to make the next tier of weapons, which you finally unlocked after a lot of time and effort, cool. Like, I'm glad to finally have them. But the time I had it, it's like, okay, cool. Now I can make the second tier of stuff. That's better than that stuff. So I can finally make stuff that's better. Oh, but wait, that place where you got the armor from, the iron from that you needed? Yeah, that has better stuff than the iron tier weapons. So why'd I waste my time? That's what we're wondering. Oh. And it's frustrating. Like, again, I get it, but it's still frustrating. I literally just brain nerfed the controls. There's why you saw me, like, rolling around. I forgot which one was sprint. Anyway. So yeah, no subscription, good crafting, player economy, and that's why I speak highly. That part I will speak very highly. That's why I actually stayed in Guild Wars 2. It's why I'm playing Black Desert. Is you need a player economy. Let me explain. It's a great way to keep things good. Like, it keeps people interesting. It's the one place where I really engage with other people as a solo player and a crafter. Like, again, all crafting, you do it yourself. You don't, like, hey, let's group craft something. No. It's not how it works at all. So it's like, you know, I enjoy doing things on my time, but, you know, whatever. The player market, it makes it, like, you have to grind a lot. And there reaches a point where to get the crafting skills up in order to make the better stuff on top of, you know, just I did all the things to get all the resources, do all this, do all that, just to make inferior weapons, which sucks. But you know, hey, it is what it is. You know, I do what I do. With the player economies, it's things like it's a way you can make something out of that time, like on top. Like, yes, you get the XP from it, but there reaches the point where you can batch lot intermediary components. Like, for example, to use the old Guild Wars 2 stuff, you had to make, for example, let's say you're making pistols. I ran, I forget what it was called, but it was basically a rogue where I was either dual daggers or dual pistols at all times. And let's say you wanted to make a pistol. Well, okay, you needed a stock, a barrel, and I forget, and an insignia thing that basically dictated the special effect on it. To use the TLDR terms. Yay, time to get my conch back out after I... Yeah, I'm gonna go to duels for that. But, just because it's quicker. And then go back to that one for the heavy takedowns because it's significantly easier to get rack up takedowns in that, whereas this is just a flat play X number of matches. But where the fuck was I? Oh yeah, but there's a lot of, so like you had to make a stock, you had to make whatever. And the thing with Guild Wars was once you had reached a certain level in the crafting skill, making those base things stopped giving you XP. Basically a way to counteract things like Skyrim, where it's like, I'll just make 1,000,000 iron daggers to max out my smithing skill, and that's it. Like, I don't need to do anything else to max it out. To counteract that, they made it so the intermediary components, you know, they stopped giving you XP after a while, but, like, until that point, you had XP, so some people would job lot them. Like, even if, because that's the thing is, like, even if you were doing it to make yourself gear, like I was, you still need to make a lot of them. And sure, you can go through the entire process to make a shit ton of the same weapon over and over again and just sell the weapon over and over again. But,
Round 2.
you know, the experience, sometimes it was more profitable to just make a bunch of one part of it. Like, XP-wise, I mean. And so you could make a bunch of those, and it's like, well, now what? Like, I have all these things, and since, of course, you know, it's like the beginner stock components, and say, like, a beginner barrel or whatever, well, it's worthless in the, like, in-game market because, you know, it's a low-tier item, it's whatever. But players can use it. And so, on the player market, like, for example, Guild Wars, for the unfamiliar, uses a tiered money system where they had basically, essentially, what they did was money. Basically, anyone who has like a dollar and cent system, like the U.S. or I actually don't know anyone that doesn't have it, but okay, that's cool. I didn't know that's how that worked for the assassin. Anyway, tier money system where it was they had copper, silver, gold, and platinum, I believe. I don't know, I didn't go that hard into it, so I don't know what the top tier is like. But I know at least those three is where I reached. The gold, bronze, silver, gold, copper, excuse me. And so, like, one of those beginner level stocks would be worth maybe 5 copper on the like game market, like not even worth the materials you harvested to make it. But somebody who's like trying to who's like gone through like the fighting portion of the game and is actually trying to fast track crafting skills, they'll happily shell them out at like a silver a piece. Like you'll literally find on the player market where it's like, hey, I have an order, I need 300 of this stock, and I'll pay you two silvers each. And it's literally, at that point, 5 copper to, so that's, each silver is, so that's 200 copper divided by 5. That's an insane amount, as I'm sure you've worked out, but that's an insane amount more profit. And, well, you had to make a bunch of it anyway to get your crafting XP up for a while, so why not? Like, you know, hey, now suddenly you're making money at the same time. And it's things like that, which is why I really like player market, and that actually ups your ability to do everything as well as a crafter.
Round 2.
It makes it a money side, even if it's not. It basically was a way when I realized, hey, you can make your own gear, but it'll never be as good as what you can find. It was a way to salvage that for me. As at that point, it was like, okay, well then why did I waste all this time and effort? Like, you know, like I literally picked these crafting skills so I could make my own gear, and now I find out that there was no point because it'll never be as good as equivalent shop gear, let alone drops and quest rewards. So it's like, well then what the fuck's the point? Well, now I'm making money off of it. Now it has a point anyway. That's why player economies are huge for me, but just like that concept in general, the ability to make money because people need it, supply and demand money making, is huge. I enjoy it greatly, and with Guild Wars, you know, there's an infinite, the thing, MMOs are broken because there's an infinite amount of in-game currency because you can keep getting it from killing monsters, etc. Because, yeah, log Horizon, watch it. But, no, And so since there is an infinite amount of money, like, being able to, like, have buying power is huge for noobs, and veterans, they have more money than they need anyway. Like, they literally don't know what to do at all. They're the, like, a veteran player reaches the point, like, if you sink enough hours into an MMO, you reach the point, you're the CEO who already has 2 private jets, 6 cars, and, like, 60 cars would probably be more accurate at that point, like 2 full mansions. Like, no, let's go ahead. At that point, you have 12. You live in 1 each month. Why the fuck not? The sky's the limit, because your money is literally, you literally just have so much money that you can just throw it at anything. And so, you know, it's a way to get that wealth spread around to the newer players. Very much a fan. To make up for the people who, you know, for whatever reason can't or won't put in as much time to still be able to, you know, enjoy the game. But and I love that. So again, the crafting thing is really the biggest, because that's the thing is every one of those Tosan no VR MMO, Log Horizon. Well, Log Horizon uses crafting skills to break the world. Highly recommend the anime. Haven't read the manga, but the anime is fantastic. There, cannot say enough good things about it. But it's like they find a combination of shit that works for them. They're a lot more freeform because they have the technology for it. And like, I have passed one college level coding class. I understand how difficult coding a lot of those things, especially like the freeform skill systems, which is why I'm not touching that in this commentary. Like, the freeform skill system, for example, Only Sense Online is a manga where it's literally, you just have skills, and you try those skills out, and you see what you can do with those skills. And as you level them up, you can mix, match, and do whatever. The more customization you give players, the more of a nightmare it is to code. I get that. Like, trust me, I get it. Because in order to, like, program inputs, like, that's the thing, too, is it's the craziest thing to think about, but Java, for people who don't know, it's one of the more basic coding languages, but, like, you have to import an entire separate library just to get it to read a person's keyboard types, and a whole nother library just to read the mouse. Like, to put that into perspective, you're basically going, hey, I need an entire program's worth of scripts just for the inputs for my program. Like, that's how much inputting you need to do. And it's crazy. And that's just basic, doesn't even register caps inputs, by the way. It's the same thing. This is also why when you're coding, a lot of times, especially on the internet, uses this system too, where a lot of the times it doesn't matter. Nowadays, they're a lot more careful about that, making things case sensitive. But for the vast majority that the internet's been around, casing doesn't matter. For example, it's why you can say www. You know, whatever, using any mix and match of cases you'd like, and it'll still take you exactly where you're looking, as long as you don't use any extra special characters, replacements of numbers, things like that. But like, just the letters don't matter. You know, just do whatever you want. Uppercase, lowercase. That's why, again, you could try it next time if you want for the simple things like http://www. whatever.
Round 2.
Try putting those in caps. It'll take you exactly where you want, and it might have simplified them down when you're there. And by simplified down, I mean taking it off of caps. It's just the little things like that. And so, the more input and more customization you give, the significantly more coding it takes. You can build sub-programs for things like that to reduce the load, but it takes a lot. And it takes a lot more code
Round
to
3.
give players options. For example, if I were to just make it, like, just hard code drops and get rid of crafting altogether, it honestly wouldn't surprise me that it would lower the amount of code needed by a third of the overall game. Just for crafting alone. Like, if you left everything in MMOs the way they are, just got rid of the crafting, like, you could even keep the, like, using, like, the gathering items and, like, keep that level of it, but just cut everything above that off, it would simplify the code so much. Like, that would be a huge chunk of code that they... And that's huge. Like, can't emphasize that enough. Like, that I understand that what I'm looking for is a coding nightmare, and that may or may not be why I will likely never find what I'm looking for. Yeah, I get to be the most depressing kind of individual. I not only know I will never find what I'm looking for, but I also know exactly why I will never find what I'm looking for. Which sucks, but I want that level of customization. It's normal to want, but it's also normal to understand, especially, like, again, I have the most basic knowledge of coding, and everything I know is that customization is headaches for the programmer. Like, holy shit, levels of headache. I made a basic RPG as my final project, is all I'm gonna say. I say basic RPG, but honestly, calling it a encounter simulator with some loose RPG placeholders around it would be significantly more accurate. Because, like, that was basically all it was. And that honestly took me, using a lot of copy-pasting from previous assignments, mind you, for certain batches of code, that still took me days to complete. Like, that literally took me, like, I would say of doing nothing but that, a good 12 hours of work to make a base encounter system. And basically the one that just gave you options to up 2 stats. Like, you had 2 stats that mattered, and after every one of those encounters, you could choose, like, you had a set number of points to put into those stats. That was all I did. And that took me a lot of time.
Victory!
Like, holy crap. But, and those were the most involved parts of my program. Like, the encounters were absurdly easy to set up. Like, it was literally, you just built basically a batch of the code saying, here's this monster's stats. And if you wanted them to level with the person, that wasn't hard. You literally just made sure, like, you just replaced, like, you gave a value of, like, plus X, like, plus, like, 4X or something, where X is the player level. Like, you could break down, like, you could keep the encounters tiered with, like, 2 lines of code to keep all of your encounters up to snuff to where the player was. Like, it was that easy to do that part of it. But setting up the player, that is where all the code is setting up so much of, like, what can the player do, what can't the player do, how does the player do the thing. Like, all of that was most of my code. And that's the thing, the encounters were literally, it's set, like, you set fixed stats, again with the plus X, whatever, plus a number X, for whatever extras you wanted to, however you wanted to scale it with the player. And then, that would be like for HP, by the way, it would be like a, its base value plus 4X, where X is the level of the monster, but I typically set that, but you can set that too with a randomizer, which is, again, just 1 line of code at that point, to, oh hey, this is the first time I'm attacking this. They Wilhelm screamed the attack. Oh man, I am really okay with this. That's the best. Best use of the Wilhelm scream. Anyway, ignore my random tangents, but that's like where coding goes to die is customization options. It's because when it comes to the player's inputs and what the player can and can't do, like when it comes to basic operations, there's already code libraries. Like I didn't build input libraries from scratch. Like I could get those, like they are common libraries. Like you could literally like look up anything you need to about, like anywhere you would go to look up stuff about programming would have it. Like that level basic. Like, it'd be like, how do I do this? Oh, you use this library and you say this. Like the very like most basic programming source you could find would have that much. I'm not even kidding, by the way. But when you go to like, how do you set up a player? How do you balance them? What do you do? There, all of those are tailored to the specific thing that's going on. So, for example, like the person who set it up, like whatever, say, oh, I don't know, like let's look at Skyrim and like Skyrim setup. The player class is where all of the stuff unique to Skyrim would end up, if it was coded in Java. It's not. I know it's not. Like, that is literally too primitive to, like, even be considered. But, like, that's basically where it's at, is it's all of that stuff goes into the player class. And then once you have the player done, you can just balance everything around the player, which is what you should be doing either way for optimal playing experience. Is just because, you know, if a game's not balanced, who's gonna give a shit? Shit like that. Like if it's not balanced, no one's gonna want to play it, and so it's literally just
You lost Zone A.
And oh. And so it doesn't take hardly any like
Zone C.
And so as a result, the more complexity you add, right, the point I was making was finally found it again. Holy shit. But yeah. And so the more customization options you give the player, the significantly more, at least in Java, which is why most big companies and big projects don't use it, the infinitely more coding you do. All of it is basically character.
You capture Zone C.
The player is the center of your game, and not just in the, well, of course, if no one plays it, I'm not going to make any money off of it, so there was no point way, but like, coding-wise, it has to be. And who, buddy, does that come with issues?
You lost Zone A.
And people wonder why I'm depressed. It's because I know just enough to not only know that I will never see what I want to, and asking for it is unreasonable,
Lost Zone C.
but not enough to fix that myself, basically. Damn it, I just got Zone A back.
You capture Zone A.
That's that. Surprise. Anyway, wow. Oh, right, there was another person down in there. Any hoodle. That was easy. That was easy. But yeah. And yes, who doesn't want a game where they can basically do whatever they want, you know?
You captured Zone C.
Nice try, Shugo. You dear, go into those spikes for me. Thanks. But it's little things, like, you know, I want more of a crafting focus than games make, but I understand why they don't. Like, it's the little things like that. And people wonder why I have depression.
You lost Zone
Anxiety is a completely other matter. And then the combination just leaves you with a shitty life. But, that's right, kids, because mental illness is something you can control. Don't get anxiety and depression. Yes, I'm being facetious with that. No, that is not an actual opinion. The fact that we live in a day and age where I need to clarify that is depressing. I don't argue the fact that I need to, I'm just depressed that I need to.
You
Stand
captured
off.
Zone C.
And then I win. Because I am the best. Maybe there are others who are just as good, but that's still a tie for the best. Oh, come on! Fuck you. Get in the spikes. Anyway. Because I totally should have had you with that the first time. Yes, I'm better. Anyway. But yeah, that's why you won't see me doing it, because in those games, I like to craft. That's how I contribute, basically, to the community of an MMO, is I craft stuff. And, well, like, I don't like, that's the thing, is even in games like Monster Hunter, most of the time I'm a solo hunter. Like, I don't, like, even when I'm online, like, I'm doing the online only hunts. Like, you have to be online to do this hunt. Like, this is the online section designed for, you know, parties of up to 4 people. I'm soloing. I'm no Contaperme, which is why you'll never see it on here. If you don't know who that is, Contaperme is a Monster Hunter solo speedrunner. Like, we are talking, like, we'll, like, find the hardest monsters in online mode again. Do need to clarify that one, because online has more health, does more damage. Again, is balanced around having a party of 4 people. And will clear the hardest monsters in under 5 minutes. Which is, for those of us who play Monster Hunter, absurdly good. And, like, just what the hell levels of good. That is how good Kanta is. I am not that. I am good enough to complete it on my own. That's it. There's no complete it within a certain time. There's no complete it without dying. It's just I can complete it on my own, and that's what I try to do. This is getting on, but I'm still on the topic. But yeah, like, I don't like... I like engaging with people at a comfortable distance, I guess. I'm a control freak, it's a problem. But as a result, I like being able to engage as much as I want to, but being able to keep away from it. And that's why, like, for example, another thing why I don't like raids. Like, you will probably never see me in a raid, ever, of anything. Like, even on the MMOs I do play, would not be in a raid, because I just, no. I don't like needing that level of coordination. I want to be I want to be self-sufficient. I don't want to rely on any other players for anything, which is why, again, in Guild Wars, I was a the store. I want it to be on like that's all I'm asking is mostly is just on par, and I've yet to find an MMO that does that. And PvP optional. I found one that emphasizes a lot on crafting, but it's not a PvP optional or like designated PvP areas thing. It's a no, everything is PvP always. So if someone like me who picks up and drops stuff, and like this thing is like, yeah, and people can come loot your stuff and like fuck you up while you're gone. And so for people like me who, you know, pick up and drop games like on a dime basically, it's kind of really important to me that like my stuff will still be there when I eventually come back. That's why like there was one that came out recently that I was interested in, but that's what drove me away from that, is I knew, I was like, no, it's not gonna do anything for me. Like Blizzard, emote, the flesh is weak, execution, and the mythic outfits. Okay, that's cool. So what's the season 1? Ah, that stuff. Got it. I think the way it works is if you already own some of it, it's cheaper, because, yeah, the Lawbringers is... Yeah, because I already have the long shot. I don't have any of the other ones on there, but I already have the long shot, and so because of that, it's cheaper. Than the 30,000. And then, yeah, I have nothing from any of those. I don't think I have any from any of them. Yeah, I don't. Any of the rest of the season ones? I don't think so. No. But yeah, that's it for this episode. Might do some more later, but, yeah, this one's already gone more than long enough to listen to me rant. Catch you guys later. Bye-bye.